Somebody's making fun of me, maybe. This is the that's the data port. The control port. I have to disable interrupts if I want that to show up. When the bit changes, it gets an interrupt and goes to my interrupt handler. So I never see the interrupt. I never see the control port change. If I turned off interrupts, then if I do this, then I'm not sure TS is interrupt proof. I think I might need interrupt. It's my the timer can overflow. No, it's using HPAT. Okay. Anyway, oh, you guys won't see the screen because I use the screen capture. You won't see it. Never mind. Anyway, so if you want to know the details, I like to work where I can make a difference. And writing drivers is not where I want to be worked. I don't want to work on drivers. I want to work on, I made a compiler with a beautiful language. I made an editor with a document structure. You can see my command line has trees and links, and so I want to be creating value. I don't want to be, I can't, if I made a browser, at best, the best I could do would be identical to what somebody else has. That's pointless. If the best answer is identical, then why on earth would I do a browser? There's nothing you can add to a browser. You're not free to change it. Anyway, so those people are busy reinventing Linux down to the screw. They're making Linux down to the screw. I don't know why they're doing it. This is, by the way, this is my unzip. And there's a Windows unzip also. Anyway, so yeah, they were making fun of me because I'm reading the data port instead of the control port. Anyway, so now in a guess what class they use box debugger. I worked natively and had my own debugger. The first thing you write is a debugger when you're out working on an operating system. This was routine at Ticketmaster. We had a 68,000, 8051 fax PC. We didn't do a PC debugger. So I have a debugger I made. Anyway. The problem with the debugger is if you make it fancy, then you can't use it on your low-level code. And if you make it primitive, then nobody else can really use it unless they... my biggest problem is screen real estate. Screen real estate is the problem. I can't enter the debugger because it'll turn off screen capture. It goes... Anyway... So I don't ever use it except I get a stack trace from my debugger. Guess what? Look at my wallpaper. Is this kick-ass or what? My fucking wallpaper tells. This is a stack trace of all the tasks on my system. Mine use a single address. Everybody's on the same address map. There's not different address maps, but they have different symbol tables, so it's a little bit complicated. Anyway, you want to see how fast I can compile everything? Watch this. Oh, first of all, since I booted, 46,000 lines have been compiled since boot. So what that amounts to is the Atom directory and the accounts directory have been compiled. During boot, those are compiled just in time. Now I'm going to compile my kernel bin and my compiler bin. Kernel is what's loaded first into low memory, then it loads compiler, and then from then on it compiles Atom. Once you have the compiler, you just in time everything. So watch this. I'm going to compile. Bam! My compiler is so fast it compiled Now we're up to 95. So we compiled 50,000 in 0.6 seconds. My compiler rocks. So it made 2 bin files. Anyway, so it's respectable. People think it's not respectable, but let's go look at a let's go take a look at a random routine. How about something in, well, that's not very respectable. Want to see max? That's a float. That would confuse you. Most people don't know float. ASM. Do random. Let's go to the other math. Oh, that's it. How about, I don't know. I'm just trying to show that my debugger is pretty good. That my compiler is pretty good. I just want a routine to show it. How about compression? Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, how about this? Arc determine compression type. So I go over here and unassemble function arc determine compression type. Okay, so first we want to show that it's 64-bit, because I get a lot of people are fucking, it's not 64-bit, it's an interpreter, it's not a compiler. It's not 64-bit, it's an interpreter, it's not a compiler. You don't use interrupts because you're dumb. Let's see. Yours is a fucking M16. Mine is. Anyway, so it's here's the assembly code from my compiler for source and 80 return. It's not too bad. It's pretty respectable. Anyway, so I wanted to say there's VGA, there's keyboard, there's mouse. Those are PS2. There's ATA hard disk and a TAPI CD-ROM. So let's review. What devices do I have to support? VGA. There's nothing I stole. There's ATA, a TAPI. I rewrote that. VGA. I'm the only one. I use a 640 by 480. They're using the higher resolutions, and God said this is what He wants for me. Theirs is pretty silly. Anyway, I use a TAPI. I use PS2 compatible keyboard and mouse. That's it's USB compatibility. If the BIOS doesn't want to do that, we'd be in trouble. But you know what's going to happen? We're going to say everybody support God's temple, and then we're just like Windows, and they do work instead of us doing work. They do the work. They make themselves function. We only reduce line count. We do not add line count. So we're going to we're going to get rid of FAT32 and just use Red C. We're going to get rid of ISO 9660. We're going to get rid of the code that has to find the ports for ATA. We do ATA PIO, and we do keyboard, mouse. Well, the timer that's called a PIT, the PIC, the real-time clock, HPED, I guess, if you want to say, keyboard, mouse, VGA, and a PC speaker. God said if we get one with a waveform, God wants a single voice. God said 640 by 480 was a covenant like circumcision. In other words, why would you circumcise? Well, because it's a covenant. Got its single audio voice. So that means a frequency and a waveform. We just have PC speaker at the moment. Waveform. Anyway, so once you see that I'm conservative, I'm not trying to do something out of my ability, it's finished. This is all the hardware we're going to support. My vision was a souped up Commodore 64. That was before the internet, and it was used to program and to play games. And everybody, somebody wants to see fonts. Anyway, let's just call it.